That's why I fell in love with Judas Priest.
I don't care what anyone says these days.
Mark Wahlberg claimed he's the only time I've had abs in my life.
Nobody else but Paul Diano and
Dimebag and I working together, and it all of a sudden became some kind of thing.
do not sound like Rob Halford.
You know, we're not reinventing the wheel.
Would you change anything about them?
Sexual, cheesy kind of 80s hair glam rock lyrics, because I was far from getting laid back then.
Hello, you Metal Pilgrims, and welcome to the new interview episode on the channel, and a very special welcome to all those who follow our Defenders of the Faith series. For today, I'm more than happy and honored to welcome nobody else but Tim "Ripper" Owens on the show. Tim, thank you so much for finding time and joining me. How are you, man?
How are you, buddy? Good. How are you?
Good, good. And as good as I can be here, of course, given that I'm in Ukraine, but everything's great, and I'm super excited to finally talk to you, because today is the big day. On the day
Yes.
we're speaking, for those of you who are going to be watching this later, Judas Priest's new studio album, The Sinner Rides Again, is out. So first of all, congratulations, man. We got it out of the way. It's out. The reviews are amazing from what I heard so far, and from the feedback I heard from the fans. So just congrats on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to have it out finally. That's for sure.
I'll be honest with you. I spoke to both KK and AJ on the show before, so they answered all the boring questions already. So I'm not going to bother you with those ones. So,
all right.
But still, for you personally, how different was it working on The Sinner Rides Again compared to Sermons of the Sinner, knowing now for sure that this band is not just a temporary project, and this is a real deal, and it's here to stay?
Well, vocally, singing-wise, I always work on everything the same. I mean, with putting full into it. I think the difference with this was I recorded my vocals at home.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a while to talk Ken into to let me record my vocals at home. Old school, and wanted me to get there. And I'm like, Ken, I could do them here. It'll be better. And I think you could really tell. I think it added to it because I could live with it more. I could put more of myself and more character into the songs. In my opinion, the songs were easier and better to work with anyways in the first record. And but it was nice to just give them an overload of vocals. I just gave them so much material to work with and to pick from, and I think it really added to it.
And I heard some people saying that this album could be a side B or a second part of a double album together with the Sermons of the Sinner, so similar in a way they are. A statement with which I personally don't agree 100%. I feel like this album is a bit more mature than your first one. AJ's and KK's interaction is much more coherent, and you seem to have even more control of your voice, which makes me personally like this album more so than Sermons of the Sinner. And I liked your debut.
Well, I think it's always going to have a comparison to it because it's KK writing the material. I mean, it's always going to have that KK Downing sound to it, no matter what, even though it changes. I mean, Judas Priest was always known from changing a lot, and Ken's going to change too, but it's definitely, to me, compared to the first record, it has a better flow. I think the songs flow better. I think all the changes in the songs go better together. I think everything about it is better. The sounds beefier, the vocals are heavier and beefier. I just, it's definitely different from the first record. I mean, I could see the comparison because it's, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're going to continue to do the same stuff. We're going to continue to do it in the vein of classic heavy metal. And it's like I said, it's KK Downing writing the songs, and it's me singing the songs. So it's always going to have that connection, but it's definitely a different record for sure.
And obviously you've known and you've been working with Ken for more than 25 years now. And I assume you're very comfortable doing that, by now already, of course. Otherwise you wouldn't do that. But how different is the dynamics between you two today compared to when you first met in 1996, was it?
Yeah, I don't think there's any difference. I mean, myself and the band, when I was in Judas Priest, it was like a family and friends. So everything was great and we got along, and Ken and I got along great and spent so much time together, and it's great. What's great now is it's been a long time, and then you get back together and it's just like we weren't even apart. I mean, I think that's the coolest part. It's like, it's great to look over to my right and see Ken and to go over when he's playing his solos and interact with him. And it'll be even more as we go on because we're still starting off this thing. But it's great just to be around him. He's just a great guy, one of the easiest guys to get along with, and just a great friend. So it's, it feels just like old times, really.
I am a huge Judas Priest fan, always have been and always will be. This, of course, will also mean that I'm a huge KK Down and Tim Owens fan, because you guys are part of the history of one of the greatest heavy metal bands on the planet as well. And I know that you were a fan of Judas Priest as well, and I assume still are, because you cannot be a fan of a band, right? So how do you personally feel about referencing old Judas Priest songs in the new material?
Well, I don't mind it, and I know why it's done. I mean, it's KK's life. Again, we're not reinventing the wheel. KK's always going to be connected with this stuff, and why not put references to his past, in my opinion. I mean, these are things that he's known for, and he wrote the songs and he's connected to. I mean, he doesn't have to, but really, I don't see anything wrong with it. I'm one of those people that I don't look at the titles and things like that, and unless it's cheesy, like a sexual cheesy kind of 80s metal hair glam rock lyrics or something, but because I was far from getting laid back then. But it doesn't bother me. I like it. I like that Ken's happy and wants to connect to his past. I mean, it's that's his life. It's been his life. That's what people got to understand. Ken's done this for 50 years, right? With Judas Priest. He wrote these songs, and you could tell, and he's connected to it, and he just likes to continue the characters or things and connect with some stuff. I mean, does he have to? No, he doesn't have to, and it would be just as the same without it. But it's cool that he connects to it. He understands what his legacy is.
And of course, you're finally hitting the stage with this new band. You already had your first shows, and now you're about to start a tour with nobody else but Paul Di'Anno and Burning Wishes, whom, for the record, I consider to be one of the best new heavy metal bands on the planet, which is just great. And which just once again shows how much interest there is in this classic heavy metal sound and production in a way. So why do you think it is so? Why KK's Priest and Paul Di'Anno's, and of course Judas Priest and Iron Maiden's popularity is not in decline in any way, but actually is quite the opposite, on the rise? Because I feel like there is quite a lot of resurgence of the interest in this classic heavy metal sound and concert production in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think people just were ready for it. It's good shows, it's entertainment. You're not going to be able to see these bands forever. I think you have to get out and tour, make tours happen, because people don't buy music like they used to. You have to go out and try to push your material and support it with touring more. But I think people, probably the mid 2000s on, classic metal has been really great. I mean, it's really just, people were just ready to do, and a lot of the young people too. The young people are out there. There's just as many. When I tour solo, it's filled with people that weren't even born when Jugulator came out. So it's crazy to see it, but people love classic metal, and it's always going to be around.
This is awesome, man. Well, I remember you did a kick-ass cover on Iron Maiden's what was it, Flight of the Icarus you did, right?
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll see you and Paul giving justice to some old Iron Maiden song as well together. That would be kick-ass.
Yeah, I used to always sing Wrathchild all the time in a lot of shows I've done in the past, so that would be cool to get up there with Paul and sing Wrathchild.
Well, now you have to do it, man.
Yeah.
You started talking about your solo work, and just a side note, I actually think that Return to Death Row might be the best album you put out as a solo artist. But anyways, now with KK's Priest taking a full swing, do you think that you might have to put your solo work on hold, or do you already have plans to, record something in between?
Well, I mean, the goal would be to just be able to continue to do KK's Priest and as much, and that's the number one priority is KK's Priest. But I will definitely be working on a new solo full-length 10-song record at some point. Jamie Jost and I will do it. So that's the plans. It's just a matter of finding out KK's Priest plans and what the shows are coming up. Because obviously I got to fill in, like I'm getting ready to do a South America run solo in November. And I have to fill in gaps of me doing that because I got to pay the bills, So you got to I do music for a living. But my main goal is to try and do KK's Priest. I mean, that's number one thing. And whenever there's an opening, I'll do something else. But that's the main thing.
You know, with KK's Priest playing, as you said, this classic straight in your face heavy metal, do you have any urge to experiment with your solo work? Do you think that this might actually lead to you deviating from this very classic sound on your next record?
No, I think if the Ripper solo stuff, it'll be still in the vein of Return to Death Row. It'll be what I like. I mean, listen, I experiment a lot. I sing on a lot of people's music. You know, I put out A New Revenge, Spirits of Fire, you know, Play My Game, which had different types of stuff on it. Pyramid, a lot of different stuff that's out there. But my stuff is going to be straightforward. This next one that I do will be the same thing. It'll have the classic metal, thrash influence, all that kind of stuff that I like.
And I remember how in one of the interviews roughly 20-something years ago, it was after you left Priest already, but you spoke about how you deliberately tried to not sound like Rob Halford while being in Judas Priest. And that kind of altered your voice on those two records a bit. So now in KK's Priest, do you feel a bit more, you know, free to, you know, experiment with your vocal tone and register, or was that never really an issue?
It was never an issue. I always sang like me. I mean, you know, my voice has high notes. It's funny because some people will, you know, they'll still never change that I try to sound like Rob, but I've never tried to sound like Rob. I just tried to sing the songs like Ripper. That just happens to be, you know, and the difference now is I've grown as a singer. My voice is grittier. I still have the same highs, and they're there, if not better. I'm grittier. I'm heavier sounding. I'm more versatile. I could sing mellow. I could sing heavy, and I try to sing with. Now I just try to use all the voice that I have, you know. And I think as you get older, you still learn, and your voice changes, and I think that's the difference. I mean, you can't get much more versatile than the Jugulator and Demolition records, anyways. There's all kinds of singing on those records. And I sing just like I do now, except I use more of a higher, more powerful voice now. At times, you know, more of my natural voice, but it's a higher voice and heavier. But yeah, I just, you know what? I sing however I have to sing, to be honest, you know, whatever fits the song.
That's cool, man. Well, talking about Jugulator and Demolition, and I told KK that, and I'll tell you exactly the same thing as Judas Priest fan. I hope that you guys, if you decide to not go full on with your original material, I would, you know, very much prefer if you would give some justice to those two records.
It seems to be the thing, doesn't it? I mean, from the fans, that's one of the biggest things that I hear is that they want to hear more Jugulator Demolition songs. I think One on One should definitely be in the set. Right now, we should definitely have, without a question, Burn in Hell, which we do, and One on One. I'd love to do Jugulator, Machine Man, Cathedral Spires. I mean, I'd love to have some different songs in there, but right now One on One definitely needs to be in the set list.
But it's gotta be kind of hard to juggle all those songs with your original ones, isn't it? Because, you know, one of the biggest you know, requests from the fans is for you guys to play Cathedral Spires live, and you know that. But in my opinion, it's going to be really hard for you to include them, because that means that you might have to sacrifice on your original songs, and this is not something that people want as well. You know, for example, one of my favorite tracks of this new album is Wash Your Sins Away, but I personally don't understand how you would be able to fit both this one and Cathedral Spires on the same set list organically.
Well, I think you'd be able to easily. I mean, right now we're doing, you know, Beyond the Realms of Death, and you know, we're doing other things. So I think without a doubt you'd be able to do it. I mean, you know, I would take out songs like Breaking the Law and Green Manalishi. Yeah. I would take out Metal Meltdown and put Jugulator in there instead. But I think the things we're going to do is add more KK's Priest songs. We'll be adding Strike of the Viper into the set now, obviously, and probably Hymn 66 next because it's a video. Wash Away Your Sins is one of my favorite songs as well. But I think you could definitely do those. You just have to, I think you would slowly take some of the other ones out, you know. I think, like I said, I think it would be the ones that I just said. I would rather just take those out and add But KK's Priest songs are the big one. To me, the biggest important things that we need to add to the set is KK's Priest songs and my era Judas Priest songs. Those are the two areas I think we need to add more.
Hey man, I agree with you, man. Because by the end of the day, once again, people are coming and paying to see KK's Priest, because they like the music, and this is great. And I think this is the most important thing. And number two is because those songs from Jugulator and Demolition era were written specifically for you, and this is our chance to see them, live. And I know that KK encouraged a bit more of creative input from other band members on this record compared to the previous one, and he said that you sent him gazillion vocal lines, which is great. So any particular tracks from The Sinner Rise Again that you kind of want to underline?
I think obviously Wash Away Your Sins is my favorite. I love the ones, One More Shot at Glory. There's something about that song still that I just think, man, it's so good. And Strike of the Viper is a different type of song. It's so good. Probably Keeper of the Graves is another one. Those ones I think are my favorite. It changes all the time. I was just listening to the Keeper of the Graves this morning at the gym, because now that it's on, I could find it and stream it, listen to it. So I did that for the first time. I was on iTunes listening to it. But yeah, Wash Away Your Sins is just epic. I mean, it's just so epic and so great, and so much emotion, not only in the singing, but in the guitar playing. It's just a great song.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. For me, it's the opposite. I had the streaming version from the label for a while now, and I'm just waiting for my vinyl record as an old fart, because that's how I listen to music these days.
There you go. Good.
What do you think is next for KK's Priest? So do you think that you guys are going to try to tour as much as it is physically possible, or you will take whatever break you might have in the future to write even more new material?
Well, I think touring is what we want to do. That's why we put the second record out, so we have 2 records and we can tour. It's just hard. I know Ken's probably talked about it and everything. It's just hard to tour nowadays. It's expensive to tour, and we want to go out with the right package, the right show, the pyro, the screens, the ramps, and we want to do a right show. And it's expensive. It's expensive to tour. So trying to put tours together that make sense financially is tough. We're not going to go out and sacrifice and play something that doesn't fit the stage show on it. So hopefully we'll get it together. I know TKO's working on it, trying to get dates. So hopefully next year will be a big year of just touring all year. I mean, that's the goal.
That'll be awesome. And hopefully you guys will be able to come to Ukraine next year already.
I hope so. I love Ukraine. I've been there a lot and did a lot of solo shows there, and a lot of did some press with the new Revenge but yeah, I probably did 3 or 4 solo tours at least through Ukraine. So I love it.
And going back to those old interviews, I remember in one of them you spoke about how you were rumored to replace Phil in Pantera. Do you remember anything about that? And how true were the rumors?
It was rumors. It's all of a sudden came out that, and it would have been pretty awesome after I left Priest. But no, it was never even talked about, not even close. But it was always talk about Dimebag and I working together, and it all of a sudden became some kind of thing saying Dimebag and Ripper is going to work together, and it was never even into consideration. And
you and Dimebag Darrell were, of course, good friends for a long time. So in all honesty, what do you personally think about these Pantera reunions or tribute shows? And would you substitute Phil if he's not able to perform for a show or two today?
I think it's a fantastic thing they're doing, celebrating Pantera. I mean, of course I would jump on some shows, but there's other singers that would be better to do it and probably in that type of music, even though I can sing that really well. It's some of my favorite stuff to sing, and I love Pantera. They're not going to get anybody else to do it, first of all. And if they did, they would pick someone else that was closer to all of them and make it more, because I think they're really trying to make it the family and friends kind of vibe, to do it. So I think they would pick someone that was in the family there more.
Well, man, I completely agree with you. I personally see it as a celebration, not some kind of spit in the face. And this tour actually does show how the music, which they produced back in the 90s, which, when they were arguably carrying that heavy metal torch high up and proud, and how timeless it is. And talking about the 90s, and going back to Jugulator and Demolition once again, looking back at those two records today, would you change anything about them, production-wise, or, you know, in any other way?
No, I think the production on those records sound better than the production on the records after I left. So I would not change anything. I think they're fantastic. The only thing I would change is probably I'd want to write with them. I mean, that's the reason why I wrote the song Scream Machine. I wrote it going, maybe I should have been writing with you guys too, because Scream Machine is going to be as good as any song on those records. But I love them. I love the sound of them. I think they sound fucking great. So, like I said, I think they sound better now when you listen to them than they even did then. So I think that, I mean, listen, you change. I mean, this is from a band that put out Turbo, right? So they change as they go on. That's why I fell in love with Judas Priest. They changed what they did. I mean, they had two albums that sounded the same. Only two. That was Screamer for Vengeance and Defenders of the Faith. The only two records that ever sounded the same, in my opinion. So, and that's what was great about them, you know? I mean, they changed and they went with times a little bit and did things and you know, so I wouldn't change anything on those records.
This is exactly what I love about Judas Priest. This is exactly what I love about Jugulator and Demolition, you know, as I said in a couple of videos that we did before. And I'm going to be honest with you, I love Turbo, and I don't care what anyone says these days. I love Turbo, and I love Point of Entry as well.
I love Point of Entry. Turbo I love, but you got to remember, this is what was great about it. I remember when I went home and put that record on, and I heard Locked In, because that was the single, and then all of a sudden I put that record on, like, and I looked at it, and I'm like, you know, you got a shell shocked all of a sudden. It's like, holy shit, what is this? But it was great songs and still great. And, you know, I mean, I didn't like Ram It Down at all when it came out, because it was a drum machine, and it's just, you know, it sounded like they were lost. And then I went about a year ago, I remember I put it on at the gym. I'm like, holy shit, this record is great. So it's funny how those things happen, but that, you know, one of my favorite records is Point of Entry. So I think it's fantastic.
This is wonderful. And this just once again shows not only about Judas Priest and hopefully later on KK's Priest music as well, but about heavy metal in general, that most of it ages like fine wine. And, you know, you can revisit those songs later on, and you find something absolutely new upon every listen. Well, Tim, I can keep you here forever. Literally, talking about heavy metal is literally my biggest passion, but there's a time limit to these things, at least so people tell me. So, especially the labels sometimes. So,
yeah.
One question, and I'll let you go. Can you remember one of the craziest stories which happened to you on the road throughout your career, anytime?
Man, I've never really. I mean, I guess the craziest story would be showing up to audition for Judas Priest. I mean, I think that'd probably be the craziest story. You have nothing to do with that. You don't even think you're going to audition. They just want to meet you. You show up and you walk into a studio in Wales, and there's Judas Priest, your idols, and you've only seen them like on your walls and posters and on MTV. So that's probably and becoming great friends with them and family. So that was probably the best road story, craziest road story I have.
Well, that's awesome, man. But I got to tell you, when you were telling that story, kind of the visions from the Rockstar movie were just kind of popping in my head.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that in a long time. Have you rewatched it lately?
No, I never liked it that much because they took so many liberties and they made it look like I was a crazy fan. Like when I made Judas Priest, I was in a Seattle tribute band, not even a Judas Priest tribute band. And
yeah.
I was a crazy fan in the 80s. 85 when I was in high school and younger, you know. So the movie's always funny because it makes it look like I was an adult with basically at that time making Judas Priest. I had a kid, but I, you know, still pretty honored that they made a movie about me. Loosely made a movie about me.
Well, this is awesome, man. Still, if you ever meet Mark Wahlberg, take a picture together with him for us.
Yes,
it would be fun.
It's the only. Mark Wahlberg playing me is the only time I've had abs in my life, so it was pretty cool.
Well, Tim, thank you so much for joining. Any last message for the fans all across the world? Anything you want to share with them?
Well, Ukraine, you stay safe, and I can't wait to get there. I love it. I love Ukraine. Everybody knows that. A lot of good friends there. And KK's Priest is out. Check us out. Come to all my social media pages, Instagram, Facebook, X, Twitter, X, whatever it's called, and find my official pages and see what's going on. And we'll see everybody on the road, hopefully.
This is awesome. This was Tim Ripper Owens of KK's Priest, and The Sinner Rides Again is already out via Napalm Records. Make sure to check it out. I'm sure if you're a fan of classic heavy metal, you will absolutely love it. Tim, thank you so much for finding time to join me today. Keep rocking, man.
Hey, thank you. Let's do it again.